Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Mukesh English. This is Mukesh Soni. Let's have a discussion of a famous novella titled Of Mice and Men, written by John Steinbeck. Before that, let's know what is the meaning of novella. Novella is a short and well-structured narration, often realistic and satire in tone, that influenced the development of the short story and the novel throughout the Europe. So let's know about John Steinbeck. John Steinbeck was born in 1902 in Salinas, California, US. He worked as a ranch hand in summers during his adolescence. Ranch means to say the migrant laborers, those who don't stay or those who don't work at one place for a longer duration, those who keep on changing their workplace. They are called as a ranch hand. Later, he attended Stanford University, where he never graduated. Steinbeck's first commercial success as a novelist came with the publication in 1937 of Mice and Men. His most famous novel, a tragic saga of migrant laborers from Oklahoma, titled The Grapes of Wrath, was published in 1939 and he won the Pulitzer Prize. In 1962, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1962. Now, before we begin this novella, let's know the three important things about the novella Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Number one, Of Mice and Men takes place during America's Great Depression, which lasted from the stock market crash of October 1929 until 12 years when the World War II began. Number two, Of Mice and Men is the only published novels written from an obscure point of view called the objective third person, in contrast to the omniscient third person perspective from which the author and thus the reader can read the minds of all the characters. Number three, the novel's title Of Mice and Men has come from a poem by the Scottish poet Robert Burns' famous poem To a Mouse. Originally, the poem written in a Scottish dialect, and the poem contains the lines that translates as the best laid schemes of mice and men go awry. Go awry. So from this poem, the title of the novel Mice and Men has been extracted or has been borrowed from the poem To a Mouse written by Robert Burns. Now, before we begin this novella, let's know about the important characters of this novella. Number one, Lennie Small. Lennie Small is a migrant worker who is mentally handicapped, a mentally challenged person. George Milton, who is also a migrant worker who protects and he cares for Lennie Small. Then Slim. Slim is a leader for the mule team. Then Candy, who is an old handyman who has lost his hand in a ranch accident, and he's also called as a swamper. Then Crooks. Crooks is a black worker at a stable who cares for the horses. Then Carlson. Carlson is very insensitive ranch worker who shoots Candy's dog. Then Curly. Curly is the son of ranch owner or the son of the boss, and Curly's wife. This is only one character whose name is not given. And before that, let's know the meaning of few important vocabulary which you might find in the course of the story. One is ranch, R-A-N-C-H. Ranch means to say a large farmhouse, a large farm, especially in North America, where the animals are bred or the animals are kept. Second is here itinerant, Itinerant. Itinerant means to say the workers who don't work at one place for longer duration. They're called as a migrant workers. So Lennie and George Milton both are the itinerant. They are the migrant workers. Then lynched, Lynched. Lynched means when a crowd kills somebody. Then another word you will find here, barn, B-A-R-N. Barn means a large building of a farm in which crops or the animals are kept. Then brothel, Brothel. Brothel means a building in which prostitutes are available. So these are the important vocabulary which you may find in the course of the story. So, an introduction to the novella Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Of Mice and Men is centered around two important itinerant workers, two important migrant workers, George and Lennie, in California in the 1930s as they start work on a ranch in a place called Soledad. Ranch means a farmhouse where the animals are kept, and these George and Lennie they work in this farmhouse. The whole story takes place over a period of 4 days. Remember, the whole story gets complete in 4 days. It starts on Thursday evening and gets over on Sunday. Then, while at the ranch, George and Lennie they meet other characters also, and who emphasize the loneliness and the difficulty of life for the people living and working in these places, especially the people who are working at the ranch at such kind of farmhouses where the animals are bred, animals are kept. George is very small but a very intelligent person who looks after his friend Lennie. Lennie is very large, very strong person, but who has a learning disability. He's mentally challenged person, but George looks after Lennie. Then Lenny's strength sometimes becomes increasing very much problematic throughout the story. Strength means to say his physical strength becomes very problematic throughout the story, which we can easily find out that he does not understand how much damage he can cause. At several points of the time in this novel, the two main characters, two men, these two George and Lennie, they discuss their dream of owning their own ranch and working for themselves. So these two men they discuss that they will have in future they will have their own farmhouse where they will keep their own cattles. But this is shown to be impossible as by the end of the book, Lennie has accidentally killed a woman and George has only one option to shoot him before he is caught, reflecting a period of economic devastation in the United States. Of Mice and Men demonstrates the damaging effects of the Great Depression upon ordinary working man. That's what we are going to observe in this whole story. So now let's begin the story. Let's begin the novella. This novella is written in 6 chapters, so we will have a discussion chapter wise. So dear friends, let's begin it with the chapter number 1. Chapter number 1, which speaks about George and Lennie, where they start their temporary workplace and they speak about the dream. So they have started to go to start their work at a new workplace. So at the start of the novel, it is Thursday night. So the novel begins with the Thursday night. George and Lennie are on the way to start temporary jobs at the ranch. So they have to reach to the new workplace and they have started the journey to reach to the new workplace on Thursday night. And they think that they should start the work the next morning. So both are described in a very contrasting way. As we have mentioned here, George is small, but very intelligent, very quick. On the other hand, Lennie is very large, very awkward, but he's mentally disabled. The bus driver drops them far away. The bus driver drops them far away from the job place where they should report this Thursday night. So instead of walking a long way to the ranch, they plan to halt by the Salinas River. Which river? They plan to stay that night by the Salinas River and go to work in the next morning or in the following morning. George instructs Lennie not to drink too much water nearby the pool and not to throw away a dead mouse which he has been carrying in his pockets. George also wants Lennie not to speak when they go to the ranch the next day and tells him that if he gets into any trouble, he should return to the clearing they are currently in and hide. Clearing means to say this place where they have halted here. If he feels himself in trouble, he should run away and he should be here and he should not speak too much at the new workplace. That's instruction given by George. to Lennie here. It becomes clear that Lennie enjoys stroking or patting soft things. So let me tell you here, Lennie has a habit. He has a habit of patting the soft things. He likes the soft things and he strokes. He strokes number of time. So he enjoys stroking or patting the soft things, but often because of that, often he kills also because he does not know his own strength, because he's very hefty, he's very large. He doesn't know that if he starts patting like the soft things, like maybe a mouse, like that, anything or anything might be killed because of his stroke or his patting. So Lenny gets the dead mouse again and he tries to hide it from George. George tells Lenny how difficult life is due to looking after Lenny. He reminds him that they had to run away from the previous job in wheat. He reminds him that remember, you created a problem in the last workplace and we had to run away, and we are reaching to a new workplace, so you need to have your own self control. That's what George instructs him. Then Lenny threatens to leave George and live in a cave. As Lenny says that no, if you say like this, I'm going to leave from you. I'm going to run away and live in a cave. And George feels sorry and he says that no, no, you stay with me. Before sleeping, George describes the dream to Lenny that they want to buy their own small farm where they will grow their own food, rear animals, and keep rabbits for Lenny to look after. So George, he expresses to Lenny that, look, my dear, we'll have our own small farm. We won't work for others. And in this small farm, you will look after the rabbits, animals, and we will grow our own food. So this is what the dreams which both the two persons, both the migrant laborers, George and Lenny, have. Now, chapter 2. George and Lenny reports at ranch the next morning. The next morning, George and Lenny arrive at the ranch, the new workplace, the place where the animals are bred and they need to look after the animals. They meet Candy first. Who is Candy? Candy is the old swamper, the old man who has been working there, old swamper whose hand has been cut. Then Candy tells them that the boss of the ranch is angry about them because they have come late as they were expected to come the day before. Candy says that, why are you late? The boss is angry. You should have reported yesterday, but you are reporting the next day. The boss arrives and questions his new workers. He asks them, who are you? What's your name? What's your skills? And about your previous employment. Where have you worked? So, here about Lenny, George tells his boss that Lenny is his cousin and he looks after him because he was kicked in the head by a horse as a child. This makes the boss suspicious. So Lenny tells a wrong information. George gives a wrong information about Lenny, and George lies here. He says that Lenny is his cousin. He's looking after him because he was kicked in the head by the horse when he was a child. And the boss becomes very suspicious. He smells that something is fishy here. So what happens? The boss tells George and Lenny that now they will be working on Slim's grain team. Where they need to work on Slim's grain team. So Slim is also a labor and they have to work with Slim. The boss son, Curly, Curly, I think it's pronounced as Curly. The boss son, Curly, enters the bunkhouse where all the things are kept here. They enters the bunkhouse and judges Lenny, demanding that he talks to him. So this Curly is like a person who loves to fight. So he would like to talk to Lenny here. After Curly leaves, Candy warns George that Curly is a boxer who enjoys beating a bigger man because he has already seen Lenny and he would like to talk to him, and through the talk, he would like to fight. So Candy warns George that, look, my dear, Curly is a boxer and he likes to beat up bigger man. And who is a bigger man is here? Generally, Lenny here. Curly's wife also enters the bunkhouse, and when Candy is not here, and Curly's wife enters, and this Curly's wife flirts with George and Lenny, and then Slim, who passes by. After Candy's wife leaves, George wants Lenny to stay away from her because she's a troublesome lady. Got it now? George says to Lenny, "My dear, you be away from this lady, from Curly's wife. She's a troublesome lady. So stay away from this lady." Slim talks to George and Lenny, and he's very much impressed by George and Lenny's friendship, which is quite very much unusual for the itinerant workers, for the migrant workers. Then Carlson enters and complains about the smell of Candy's old dog. Carlson comes here and he says that Candy's dog is smelling, and he asks Slim about his dog's puppies, and he suggests that Candy should kill his own dog and replace it with a puppy from Slim. He says that this Candy's dog, old dog, he has become old. I think he's suffering from some disease and he should be killed. And this dog will be replaced by the puppies, and Slim will give some puppies. Now, chapter 3, Candy's dog is killed. Dream of owning a land. Lenny and Curly fight. Slim and George, they talk about a puppy that Slim will give to Lenny. George and Slim, they talk about the nature of Lenny. Here, some sort of discussion is going on between John and Slim about Lenny. So George says that once Lenny Lenny jumped into the river due to his forgetfulness, Aunt Clara had told George to care for Lenny while working at a wheat, the previous workplace. While working at a wheat, Lenny had created a problem. Due to that problem, both of them had to run away from that place, and today they are at a new workplace. What he has done? Lenny messed up with a woman. He tried to touch her red silk clothes because he is fascinated by the soft things. But the woman accused him of raping her. She accused him of raping her, means to say, this is the problem with Lenny has here. We know that Lenny likes to stroke pet the soft things, and in the past he tried to touch the red silk clothes of the one lady, and the lady accused him that he is about to rape her, and that's the reason that George and Lenny had to run away from that place, and they had come here to start with a new workplace, to start at a new workplace. Carlson and Candy, they enter the bunkhouse, and Carlson tells Candy that he should put his dog down. Means to say, Carlson tells Candy that, look dear, you should kill this dog because it's too old and it's suffering. Slim offers Candy one of his puppies as a replacement. Then Carlson finally persuades Candy to let him shoot the dog, and Carlson takes Candy's dog outside and he shoots. So finally, who shoots Candy's dog? Carlson, with the permission of Candy, shoots Candy's dog, and a shot is heard. Candy stays in the bunkhouse, lying on his bed, staring at the wall. Now, who are left? Only George, Lenny, and Candy are left at the bunkhouse. George and Lenny discuss their dream of owning a farm, and this discussion was heard by Candy, who also wants to get involved. Candy also wants that, okay, I'm also ready to contribute his life savings. So Candy offers to contribute his life savings, which would enable all of them to buy a piece of land, which George knows about it. So here, Candy is also about to take a share of the dream of George and Lenny, that is, to buy a land or to buy a farm. Curly, Slim, and Wit. Wit is another migrant labor. Curly, Slim, Wit, and Carlson, they re-enter the bunkhouse. Curly apologizes to Slim for accusing him of being with his wife. and the others mock for his insecurity about her. He says that, I'm sorry, it was misunderstanding that I thought you are flirting with my wife, and everybody others, they feels that it's his insecurity about his wife. Now, angry Curly accuses Lenny of laughing at him, starts to punch him. Lenny panics, but he does not react until George shouts at him to fight back. So here what happened when he was apologizing, and Lenny laughs, and Curly becomes very much angry. He's about to punch him, but he was waiting for the instruction of George. Then Lenny grabs Curly's hand and crushes it. Curly has to go to hospital. Curly's injured by the punch of Lenny. Slim tells him that he must not reveal the truth of his injury. Slim tells Curly that don't tell about this injury. He should say his hand was caught in a machine. So Slim tells Curly that he should not reveal the truth of this injury, that he was bitten or he was beaten by Lenny. He should tell that his hand was caught in a machine. Now, chapter 4, Crook's room. Crook, the another migrant laborer here. Now it is Saturday's night, the third day. It's Saturday night, and most of the team members, they have gone into the nearby town to go to a brothel. Brothel means, as I told you, where the prostitutes are available, leaving behind Lenny, Candy, and Crooks, as well as Cully's life. So Lenny, Candy, Crooks, and Cully's life are here. Who is Crooks? Crooks is a disabled man who works in the stubble, and he's the only black man on the ranch. Only black man on the ranch is here. Crooks. Now Lenny, Candy, Crooks, and Cully's wife, they are having some discussion. Lenny goes to Crook's room in the stable. Lenny forgets that George does not want him to talk about the dream and mentions it. Crooks is a mean fellow to Lenny, suggesting that George might not come home. Lenny becomes more and more distressed. Candy walks into Crook's room looking for Lenny, and Crooks tell him tells him and Lenny that they will not own a farm, but Candy explains that they have money to buy it. Crooks is interested in joining them. So what happens here? Candy enters Crook's room, and Crook says that they can't have, they will not own a farm. They can never own a farm. But here Candy, who is also interested to be in this business, and he says that no, they have money, and they have money, and they will buy this farm. And finally, Crooks also says that he will also join. Curly's wife enters here. The men tell her, all the people, they all tell her to leave. She mocks them, then describes how lonely she is. She asks about Curly's hand, and others deny Lenny's involvement, making her angry because she feels excluded by them. She feels that everybody is cornering her. So she feels very excluded. She feels very angry. Candy tells her to leave and says that if she got them fired, they would buy their own farm, making her laugh at them. Crooks also tells her to leave his room. She threatens Crooks, saying that she could get him lynched. Lynched means to say she will make that people will kill him. A crowd would kill him. When Candy says that he can hear the people are arriving here, that all the others are coming here, please leave. Then she leaves the house. She leaves this room. Now George comes to find Lenny. George is very angry with Lenny for being in Crook's room and for discussing the farm. George is very angry because George has come to know that Lenny has disclosed the dream thought that they would have farm. Crooks claims that he is no longer interested in being involved anyway, then it's an unrealistic dream. Crooks says that it's impossible. You can't buy a farm. It's an unrealistic. I have no interest in your business. Chapter 5. Lenny's petting. We know that Lenny has a habit to strike the soft things. So it's Sunday afternoon. So we are coming to the day 4. Sunday afternoon. Lenny is in the barn. Lenny in the barn. Barn means to say a place, a building in which crops and the animals are kept here. Lenny in the barn, and he's patting his dead puppy. This puppy is dead. You know why? Because he petted this. He's because of his heavy stroke. The puppy is dead. He has accidentally killed the dog through stroking it too hard, and he's worried that George will find out and stop him from looking after the rabbits when they get the farm. So he tries to hide it under some straw. So, like this, we have come to know that his petting is too much dangerous. Even he doesn't know sometimes his strength can cause the great harm here. He has already killed a puppy. Curly's wife enters and tries to talk to Lenny. At first, he tries to ignore her because he knows that George does not want him to speak to her. However, she notices his puppy and comforts him, so he starts talking to her. She opens up to him about her dislike of her husband and her aspirations of becoming a movie star. So both of them become very close, and she starts discussing about her personal life, her aspirations that she would like to become a movie star. Now Lenny speaks to her about the farm that he and George will have and the rabbits he will look after. He speaks about his dream. He tells her that he likes to pet the soft things. She says that she understands and she offers her hair to stroke, which he does. However, Lenny strokes her hair too hard, making her panic and shout. She starts crying the way he strikes her hair with a lot of strength, and worried that he will get into trouble, Lenny covers her mouth with his hand and shakes her. He breaks her neck, then leaves, aware that he has done something wrong, and because of her heavy stroke, she is died. She's no more. She's dead. She's no more because of Lenny. Now Candy goes into the barn, finds Curly's wife's dead body. He runs to get George, and the two discuss what has happened and predict that Curly will kill Lenny. If Curly will come to know that Lenny has killed his wife, Curly is going to kill Lenny. Candy asked about the dream of buying a farm, and the two realize that this is now never going to happen. And all the others, Candy, they all think that now we cannot buy the farm. George is worried that Curly will suspect that he was involved in his wife's death. George was very much afraid that Curly will think that George was involved in his wife's death, and he asked Candy to pretend he has not seen him before he leaves the barn. Alone with Curly's wife's dead body, Candy lets out his frustration and anger, blaming her for the destruction of the dream. He cries before going to find the rest of the men to tell them about her death. The others enter, and Curly demands that Lenny to be found and killed. He says that at any cost, they should find Lenny, and Lenny should be killed because he had killed his wife. Carlson says that his gun is missing. They all suspect that Lenny has taken it. George tells all of them to go in a different direction to find Lenny. Now, chapter 6. George shoots Lenny. Now Lenny is hiding in the bushes next to the clearing where he and George stayed in the beginning of the book. If you remember, the place they had halted in the last night, and there, that place, he was told that whenever you are in trouble, you need to come this clearing, you need to come this place. So here, Lenny is hiding in the bushes next to the clearing where he and George stayed in the beginning of the book, beginning of this episode, beginning of this book here. Lenny hallucinates, spelling is wrong. Lenny hallucinates seeing his aunt Clara and a giant rabbit. George finds Lennie and speaks to him. George tells him that he's not angry, he's just trying to calm him down. Lennie asks George to describe the dream of the farm, and he does so. George says that, Lennie, you please once again you describe our dream. And Lennie describes the dream that they will have a farm, they will have the rabbits, they will grow the crop. Then, as Lennie describes the dream, George asks Lennie to take off his hat, look out at the river. George then uses Carlson's gun to shoot Lennie in the back of the head. And Lennie is no more. Lennie is shooted. Lennie is shooted by I'm sorry. Lennie is shot by George. The rest of the men finally they find George after hearing the shot. George claims that Lennie had Carlson's gun and he had to shoot him after managing to take the gun away from him. So he had justified that why he had shooted him, because he had to shoot him to manage. He was taking away his gun, so he had to shoot him. And this is how George had shot Lennie here. Slim leads George up to the trail and on toward the highway, leaving Carlson to wander along with Curly. He says, now, what the hell you suppose is eating them two guys? So this is how we come to know about the famous story of mice and men. But wait, let's know the characters in nutshell very quickly. George, a migrant worker who looks out for Lennie. Lennie, he is a powerful but mentally handicapped man whose strength and love for the soft things conspire against him. Slim is a compassionate and kind ranch hand, considered the leader and respected by all. Curly is a ranch owner's son who targets Lennie to pick on. Candy, the old swamper who dreams of having his own farm. Carlson, very insensitive migrant labor who talks Candy into letting him to kill Candy's dog. Curly's wife, a woman who, out of boredom and loneliness, flirts with the ranch hands. Crooks, the black stable hand, who is isolated from the others because of his race. I mean to say he's black. Shares dream of ranch with George and Lennie. So this image will help you to understand the characterization of each character. Now, quickly, let's have a recapitulation of the whole story of this novella. To begin with, George tells Lennie off for keeping a dead mouse, keep away the dead mouse. Second one, Lennie asks George to tell him about the dream. Then George and Lennie go to the ranch, the new workplace. George and Lennie meet other people on the branch. Carlson shoots Candy's dog. Candy asks to be part of George and Lennie's dream. Lennie crushes Curly's hand. Crooks no longer wants to be the part of the dream. Lennie unintentionally kills Curly's wife. George shoots Lennie before the others men do. So this is how we have discussed, this is how I have tried to summarize or to explain the most important novella title of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe, click on the like button and write in the comment box. Thank you once again. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Please do subscribe the channel, click on the like button for more videos on literature, workbook, pronunciation, grammar, communication skills, presentation skills, interview skills. Stay in tune with Mukesh English. Thank you once again.